Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today for today's webinar. We're going to be talking about income and building income when it comes to trading, primarily focusing in on, of course, active trading. And we'll be discussing what possibilities there are when it comes to the futures markets, Forex, maybe stock and options, and of course, answering all your questions as we go through the presentation and showing you how you could develop a business this way and build up over time. So looking forward to the presentation. I know a lot of you probably have always thought about trading to either replace income or become a full-time for you, and it may be easier said than done. I'm sure that's been most people's experience at this point, so we kind of want to go over that, discuss some of the challenges, some of the things that maybe stand in your way a little bit on getting to that goal. And also recognize that people do get to that goal. So just realize it is doable, but there's certainly some obstacles and challenges that we need to address and work through in order to accomplish what everybody's here for. So we're here to talk about trading, but we're here to talk about trading when it comes to income. So that's the focus of tonight's presentation. If you've been in some of our past webinars over the last couple of weeks, you know that we've been talking a lot about the Premier Trader University. That's our really a high-end program. It's our best of the best that we offer, and we've been sort of covering a variety of different topics. We've had a presentation on automated trading. We've had a presentation on scaling, where you bring in additional markets, more contracts, all that sort of thing. And of course, tonight's presentation will be talking about the income when it comes to trading. So this is always a very popular topic. Since we're talking about income, and anytime we talk about money, we want to make sure that you understand. I'm sure all of you do, but there is risk in trading. There's risk on every trade that you take. You want to be very intelligent and smart and disciplined when it comes to risk. You want to have a lot of respect for the losing side of trading. If you do a lot of that, you're going to be better than 98% of traders that are out there who unfortunately just do not trade with rules and discipline and trade plans and systems. And this becomes a real issue. So, trading's got leverage, especially when we're talking futures and Forex. It's well beyond one-to-one. So we just need to acknowledge this and understand that as we move along. So we'll be talking about best opportunities for income as we go through here. We'll be showing you the systems that you'll be learning in order to achieve this trading for income. And we'll talk about the enrollment process in the Premier Trader University, what's offered, how it can benefit you, how much it correlates to the topic today, and of course answering all of your questions. So won't spend a lot of time on historicals, but just know that NetPicks was founded back in 1996 by myself. And again, just a quick introduction, this is Mark Soberman. Brian Short is a partner in the business as well. He's in the lower right there. We have worked with thousands of traders, literally tens of thousands at this point. Over 105 countries. That was kind of last count about 6-8 months ago. So I'm sure we've added on a few more countries as we go along, and who knows, maybe with some of the votes going on later in the week, there'll be another new country that will eventually have added to our list. So probably some of you know what's going on in the United Kingdom. We all trade live, and that's probably something that is a real difference maker. We want to make sure that, yes, we can teach and we can educate, but we don't want it to all be hypothetical. We want you guys to know that we are actively in the markets with you side by side. I think that's really quite critical. I think if I was not in the market on a regular basis, I would become very detached from it. And the fact is, this really helps us provide you the best systems and the best education overall. I mentioned that Troy Noonan, who you heard from just a moment ago, and the developer of the core system behind the Premier Trader University, is here tonight. Will is working in the background, and he's our chief programmer as well, so does all the great software that you'll see. He's the one who's really turns all of our crazy ideas into systematic software and systems. And Ron is usually out there as well, helping support and answering questions. And the rest of the specialists here, Mike, our options specialist, and Shane, our technical analyst, and so on. So this is the trading team that's behind this. So let's start to get specifically about trading for income. And I want to start talking about futures a little bit. And just realize when it comes to futures trading, you have a number of potential opportunities. And some of this depends upon the time of day or night that you are available to trade, and also assuming that you are available to day trade. We do not swing trade futures. It's just there's better choices if you want to swing trade, and we can get into that in the Q&A if that's something that anybody wants to discuss. But if you want to swing trade, we're big fans of Forex swing trading and definitely big fans of trading stocks, ETFs, and underlying options. However, when it comes to futures and day trading of futures is probably the prime choice, I would say, for trading for income. And it may or may not be something that you're currently doing right now, but I'm definitely going to tell you, if you were thinking income, if you're thinking trying to build any type of consistency, this is going to be one of the best opportunities. Now, there are several different areas and types of futures that you can trade. There's stock index futures, which would be things like the Russell E-mini, the DAX futures, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and so on. There's energy, which would be things like crude oil, unleaded gas, heating oil. The metals, I think, would be, of course, gold, silver, copper. The ags would be things like soybeans, wheat, corn. Forex, we all know, would be things like the euro futures. So sometimes people don't realize you can trade Forex futures. So the euro, the pound, the franc, etc. And interest rate would be things like the 30-year bond, the 5-year note, the 10-year note, and so on. Our favorites, it doesn't mean we don't have excellent plans in the ags and the metals, but we probably have our favorites in the stock indices and in the energies. And probably some of the favorites that we enjoy trading, that we're consistent with, that does well for us over time. In the stock side would be definitely the Russell E-mini and the Dow E-mini. Those are two very, very good choices. And the DAX futures is phenomenal. Needs a bigger account, but is an amazing market to trade. In the energies, favorites are going to be crude oil, for sure. That's been a multi-year favorite. Heating oil has really been a favorite over the last few years, and unleaded gas is another real opportunity. Those are going to be our favorites. There are others, energy markets, there's natural gas, etc., but those are our core favorites overall. In the metals, I don't see as much consistency. A lot of that has to do sometimes where the price is. Like right now, silver is in such a downfall and then a long-winded compression here. You don't have the best income-based opportunities in the metals. Now, agriculturals, you have some opportunities, and probably primarily soybeans would be one of the ags that would be consistent enough over time that it could very well be worth considering. All right. There are certainly opportunities in both U.S. and European market hours. We always make sure in the university that we're not just saying, hey, Russell E-mini is a good thing to trade. We get very, very specific down to start time, end time, profit objectives, and everything else. That's very important. Now, why would I somewhat talk a little negatively about Forex, right? It almost seems counterintuitive because Forex is clearly still very popular. We're not down on Forex. We're big fans of Forex, in particular when it comes to swing trading. And there are opportunities to day trade Forex. Troy's going to show you what we think is the best opportunity for consistency day trading Forex. The problem is most people gravitate to a market like the Euro-US dollar, but that's not the easiest market to trade successfully in Forex. 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, it was, but it just does not have the volatility like it used to. In fact, most of the Forex markets are, at decade or longer lows when it comes to range and volatility. So the opportunities we used to have just are not there as much anymore. But we have definitely found some opportunities, and on the screen are some other reasons why it is sometimes more challenging to be an income-based trader if you're just focusing in on day trading Forex. And it has a lot to do with costs. The costs are a lot higher than you think because of the spreads that are out there. There's also a lot of issues with not having a single centralized market. You're very much more broker dependent than you are when you're trading futures or stocks or options. There's a lot of issues with platforms that freeze, execution that suddenly is not there, liquidity issues. So it makes it a lot more challenging when you're speaking on the day trading side. I feel, and we feel, the path to profitability for income, you'll be much better off if you're willing to kind of get off of the day trading Forex side. For the most part, we'll show you one good opportunity and really open your eyes and open your mind to actually trading futures. And that may not be something that you've considered before. So what's better? I've got some choices here. Making $2,000 in profit on 20 trades or $1,500 in profit on 5 trades. And if you guys wouldn't mind in the chat, maybe just type in 20 or 5. Which one do you think is the better combination here, just, based upon, just kind of looking at this? What do you think? So go ahead and put that into the chat. I'm going to look at what some of you guys are answering on this. And let's hear a lot of 5s, a couple 20s. I would say the 5s have it. And you're right in that case, because sometimes there's a tendency to gravitate to the best bottom line profits. But when you're doing it on 20 trades, you got to realize that means what? That's, averaging a certain amount per trade, right? $100 per trade. But you've got slippage, you've got time, you've got expenses, commissions, a lot of things factor into that. I would much prefer to have fewer trades, even if it meant less profit, because if you attended our scaling webinar, you know that you could quickly get well above 2,000 and not work nearly as hard. Let's ask kind of the same question on $10,000 on 100 trades versus $5,000 on 20 trades. That's a pretty significant difference, right? You're doing twice as good at the $10,000 profit. So same thing, type in either 100 or type in 20. What would you choose if you had two different trading systems to choose from? Which one do you think would be the best? All right, most of you are typing in 20. And again, I have to, in that case, really agree with you. It's very tempting to look only at bottom line profit. We don't like to look at our trading that way. We like to look at a lot of the factors that go into it. You can always build up. You can always add positions, okay? It's much better to have that better average. It's much better to have that consistency. And it is definitely better not to work as hard when it comes to trading. Now, a lot of people worry in futures that they hear that, trillions of dollars change hands every day in the Forex markets. And they think that, well, clearly trillions don't change hand every day in the futures markets. And that's true. But come on, let's be honest. All of us are really talking about we want to trade a contract, 2 contracts, 3, 4, maybe 5 when we get our accounts really big. We don't really care what's happening on the grand scheme globally, and if the banks and everything else are clearing back and forth $1 trillion. Look at the dollars changing hands daily in value, all right, in some of the main futures markets. I think we can cut our little piece out of any of these numbers and be very, very happy. If we're going for $50 a day or $100 per day per contract, I think you could see anywhere you turn in futures, there's more liquidity than any of us here combined many times over could ever begin to even concern ourselves with or worry about. So it is not a liquidity issue at all. Now, another thing that people run into is I know there's a lot of claims out there for how much you can make per day. And I understand, because we're here talking about income, and I probably would have been a lot smarter if the emails that I sent you, if I said, make $1,000 per day, come to the webinar. Make $500 per day, come to the webinar. But we never said that, right? We spoke very much just in terms of how do you build and come up with a consistent income. Because you don't need me to BS you. You don't need me to give you the good marketing line, which of course is make $500 to $1,000 a day trading futures, because almost all of you would be ecstatic at that level, right, based upon the income levels that you showed me. So if you made $500 a day times 20, well, there's your $10,000 a month. I think that was about 90% of you were looking for that $10,000 a month or less. So you're satisfied at that number. We're done, right? At the $1,000 per day, you're at $20,000 per month. That's fantastic, all right? But what people don't explain to you is, yes, there are certainly days on a single contract in the markets we trade as well that you can make $500, that you could make $1,000. But that's kind of where that story ends. What nobody likes to do is acknowledge that trading is made up of a series of winners, break-evens, and losers. In addition, it's made up of partial winners and partial losers. All right, so yes, you could make $1,000 in a day, but what if the next day you lose $500? All right, did you make $1,000 a day? Well, on a single day you did, but now your average is $250 a day. All right, just by those, by having one day at 1,000 and one day at a loss, is nowhere near that top level maximum potential. All right, most people start with $7,500 or $5,000 or whatever. Let's just say that's the average to trade a contract of futures. There's markets you can start with, 4,000 or 5,000. There's some that need 25,000. But let's just say an average is about $7,500. That means that people are claiming that you could return 133 to 266% a month. I mean, come on. I mean, the math, you could do it if you divide the numbers, But I think when you start to think of it that way, you start to realize that's just not possible. You know, if you compounded that return, it means that you would compound your $7,500 to 25 million a year. Now that would be a hell of an email subject. And I have a feeling in your email today you have one like that from somebody out there. You know, turn 5,000 to a million. That's not what our conversation is going to be about today. That's not who we're looking to appeal to. We are looking to be realistic and talk about real income that you can make. And I'm sort of making the example here on the slide. Let's say you had 80% winners, which is amazing. And let's say you made $300, right, on each winner, and you lost, you know, $300 on your losers. That would bring you down to just, and believe me, $180 a day is fantastic. But I'm trying to get you thinking what's realistic when you first start and you first start to build an income. If you shoot for $50 to $100 a day, trust me, it will not take you long through scaling and compounding to build up to whatever you answered earlier on you wanted for that full-time income. Very, very doable. So really important in this case. There's a variety of different markets that you can do this and get those type of numbers. So what I want to do now, I'm going to bring Brian on in a couple of minutes, and he's going to take us through the capital planning spreadsheet. And we showed you this the other day if you came to our scaling webinar, but it very much applies in particular today because we're talking about income. So I want to bring up first really quickly on my screen a couple of examples. And there's, you know, so many different trading plans that we have in different markets. And, you know, I don't want to overwhelm you, but inside the university, you know, one of the programs and the plans that we teach you is what we call the Trend Trader. And it's been going on for a long time. This goes all the way back to 2012. These are weekly results that are actually real results, real time, not curve fit optimized or anything else. They're actually what's achieved with the system. And we come up with daily averages of $85. This is on heating oil with one plan, and $156 on another plan. I'm going to ask Brian to kind of work with both of those numbers, basically. So $85 in one example and $156 in the other example. And the difference is you will need a bigger account on the one that's averaging the higher amount because it has bigger weekly gains, but also will have bigger drawdowns when it has it. And this one will be a little bit more consistent. It won't have quite the big upsides, but it'll have a little more consistency. In each case, this is trading with just one contract. And, you know, look, we can do it with unleaded futures. You know, here's $125. That's another possibility. The DAX futures gives us a crazy average. You need a much bigger account for that, but that can be over $200 per day on average per contract. So we're just going to start with this. I'm going to go ahead, Brian, and hand it off to you. I need to guess which one is your presenter. Probably this one here, right?
Not the recorder.
Okay, so hopefully this one.
And Mark, I have a question for you. If
Yeah.
you're going to have me work those stats, I need the average risk per trade. Do you have that off the top of your head on each one of those?
Yeah, bring up your spreadsheet and I'll give you that.
Okay, sounds good. Before I get into that, I'll use the HO example that you talked about. So let me actually show my screen, and you should see it now. Okay, so what I want to do is really show you the power of this worksheet. And before I get into it, I do want to give credit to the developer of the worksheet. We mentioned him earlier in the presentation, and that's Will, our programmer. So he's the gentleman that put this all together, but very powerful spreadsheet in a number of ways. And I want to get three main points across to you today. If you take nothing else from this presentation today, I want you to take these three things. First of all, it's important to pay yourself as a trader. And you might say, Brian, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? But I think more importantly than that, it's important when you pay yourself. And I'm going to show you specifically when that should be. Sometimes traders want to pay themselves too quickly. And if you don't let your account grow to a point where it can sustain itself, it will never get to that self-sustaining point in time. And then on the flip side of it, sometimes traders don't pay themselves at all. And that can be just as bad, because what ends up happening in that scenario is a trader builds this huge account, ends up most likely taking more risk than he should, and has a what I would call a blowout series on his account. He blows his account, all that hard work that he put into it. So I'm going to show you in a moment a very good way to make sure you pay yourself at the right time. Point number two, keep your risk in that 1 to 3% zone. If there is no other advice you take from us today, adhere to this one. And too many traders I talk to each and every day are putting on way too much risk. And so this spreadsheet's going to drive this point home. And finally, number three, I want to show you how, as a trader, you need to earn the right to trade additional contracts. One of the worst things that can happen to a brand new trader when he first begins trading is that he has success. You might say, Brian, what? That's what trading's all about. We want to have success, right? But the thought process goes like this. He has those series of winning trades in the beginning. And then he thinks to himself, you know what? This is great. All I have to do is do more of it. You know, instead of trading 1 hour a day, I'm going to trade 24 hours a day. Instead of trading one contract, I'm going to trade 20. Okay? Those are recipes for, again, blowing out your account. And I'm going to show you on this worksheet how it makes you earn the right to go to the second contract, the third contract, and so forth. So what I want to do next is bring up the actual worksheet. If, by the way, you want to download this worksheet, you can do so at this link right here, and we'll put it up a little bit later if you need it into the chat, www.netpicks.com/ptucp.xls. All right, so let me get over to the worksheet itself, and I want to cover a few of the key inputs here at the very top, and we're going to make some assumptions here. And some of this data should come from your back testing, or if you're doing any kind of performance results, you'll get that information from those. So we're just going to assume a few things. So Mark wanted me to use HO, and I'm going to assume we'll start with on HO with a $7,500 account on this first one, and he mentioned $85 a profit average per day. Now I want to stress, and Mark pointed this out in his presentation, that's an average. That means some days you might make 300, some days you're going to lose 150. Okay, and so that's the number that goes there. And then Mark, you said you would get me that average trade risk, so be working on that. And let me know what you think that is.
Probably like 175 or so on that.
Okay.
A little bit higher on that one than the previous one.
All right, I'll punch that in. So we're assuming a 175 risk, average risk per trade. Now this input right here is going to cap us out at 10 contracts. Once we get to 10, we're not going to trade anymore. And if you think about it, you know, markets do have limits as to what they can trade. Could you trade 1,000 contracts accrued? Realistically, no. So we want to cap that out. And you're going to see here in a moment, it doesn't matter. This is still going to get you a good income. Maximum risk per trade, we're going to set that at the 2.5%. Remember, I said keep it in that 1 to 3% zone. This is a smaller starting account, so we're going to be edging on the higher side here. Now, the next 4 inputs are how we pay ourselves and when we pay ourselves. Okay, so this input here, number 10, says that once our account grows to $20,000 from $7,500, we're going to begin to pay ourselves $1,000 per month. Then for every $5,000 we grow the account, we're going to pay ourselves another $1,000 per month, up to a maximum of $10,000. Okay, so that's how those inputs work right there. And again, you can play with these with your numbers specific to you and see what the final result is. Now let me scroll down to the bottom here. And down at the bottom here, we've got some input for expenses here. You can, again, customize this to whatever they are. I've put in some minimal expenses for about $95 a month. All right. Now, here's where the power of this spreadsheet comes in. And I want to point out a few things here at the very bottom. First of all, notice across the very bottom here how your risk per trade stays below that, you know, in that 1 to 3% zone. And actually, as we go on in time and we're only trading one contract, it goes down a little bit. The other thing I want to point out here is notice that for the first 5 months, excuse me, we're trading one contract. And we stay consistent and we trade one contract each and every month until June, end of May, 1st of June, we earn the right to go to the second contract. Okay, and again, looking down at the risk, we're staying in that 1 to 3% zone, right? We set our risk on this particular plan at 2.5 max. Notice the next thing that happens here is we earn the right much quicker. Okay, we're trading 2 contracts now to go to 3, just 2 months to go to 3, and then 2 months to go to 4, and so forth on down the road. Here, let me scroll over, and then at the end of December, we're up to a maximum of 5 contracts in the first year. Okay, this is all again on a single instrument, getting us $85 per contract per day. Risk at 175 and no more. than 2.5% risk. Okay, so again, very, very powerful. And the other thing I want to point out here before I go to the very end and show you what the income is after 5 years, and before I get to that, be thinking, what do you think the income is going to be here at the end of 5 years at this kind of pace? So notice here, in August of our first year, we get to begin to pay ourselves. And I made that point early on. Too many traders want to start paying themselves right here after a first month of success. Okay? But what happens when you do that, you could start pulling money out here, but you don't allow your account to grow. See this bottom line here? See how your account is growing each and every month? That's a part of the formula here that gives us the right to go to the second and third contract. If you pull your money out too soon, then you're just never going to get to a solid position and an account size that you need to grow properly. And you'll notice here as we scroll forward, things begin to escalate and compound pretty quickly. We get to a maximum of 10 contracts in July of year 2. So we're trading 10 contracts. We're pulling out $10,000 a month at that point. Again, the thing I want to stress here, all with a reasonable amount of risk. All right, so I want to take some guesses here. If you want to type them into the chat, what do you think year 5 total income is going to be? Any guesses? And a lot of times I ask this question, some people will guess way, way high, some people guess way low. 380,000 is 2,250,000. Okay.
And Brian, so are you saying when you say total income, do you mean
at the
profits
end
made or the actual income that they were taking out?
Total of everything, what they took out,
gotcha. And
what they took out, what's in their account. So I'll allow you to change. I should have been more clear on that. I'll allow you to change. So we've got Paul saying 100,000, 250 million from somebody. Wow, that's pretty aggressive. So no, not quite that good. So let's take a look at the numbers here. And I need to get my window out of the way here. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. So at the end of 5 years, making $85 per contract, we have accumulated a total of $833,000. So pretty good. We have in our account 360 that we're trading account. We've pulled out 474,000. Not too bad, right? For a single contract starting with a single contract, $7,500 account. Now, what I want to do really quickly, and I'm not going to go through step by step like I did in the first round here, but I want to show you the second example that Mark gave, where he shows 156 per average per contract. And Mark, what is the risk on that particular?
You're probably looking at about 250, and then you definitely would want to have a bigger starting account.
Yep, I will get that for sure. 250. All right, so in that case, let's go to $15,000 on that, roughly, is going to be my guess.
Sure.
And so let's just go to the bottom line. And that's the great thing about this spreadsheet. You can key these numbers in and see the result fairly quickly. Notice, starting with a bigger account, our right to trade more contracts happens quicker. In the third month, we're at 2. In May, we go to 3, July 4, and almost in the first year, we're up to 8. Notice also we get to pay ourselves much quicker, $1,000 per month in the third month. Now, those are results that are pretty powerful. And again, this comes from the stats that we have inside the university.
Yeah, Brian, change the risk there. Let's just show them a little bit, like the risk to $300 instead of the $250.
Sure.
So like if the risk is a little bit larger, how does that impact the bottom line? You can see it, right? It slows it down a little bit.
Slows it down a little bit. It also forces you to go longer before you get the right to go up to the second and third contract. So let me go out to the edge here, and I'm going to show you this final stat, then I'll turn it back over to you, Mark. So let me take some guesses. What do you think the account size is going to grow to in this scenario? Total in your account and what you've pulled. Any guesses? Any guesses from people? 1.4 million. Somebody must have the worksheet. 1.6. Chester, you've got the worksheet, don't you? 1.5. Chester, you win. 1.50696 total account In our trading account, we've got almost $1 million, and we pulled out 517,000. So again, the point I want to make here, this is on one market, starting with $15,000 account, building your business over time. Again, adhering to those 3 points that I started in the beginning with, and you've got a successful trade business. So Mark, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hand it off to Troy. Because one thing that is clear is this opportunity is there. It's been there since we've started the university. But the bottom line is you actually have to have a trading system that can get these kind of averages. They're very reasonable averages, but you still have to be able to do it with some consistency. So Troy, go ahead and take it away and show us how that actually can be done.
Great, thank you, Mark. It's a really amazing example. The point here, of course, is how to earn money as a trader, and we have to treat our trading as a business. We need to have a business plan, a method, and the trend jumper is one of the key strategies that we're using inside of the university. So for those of you who haven't seen it before, let me give you a quick lesson on how this works. I'll teach you about 85% of this system in the next few minutes, and then I'll show you some examples and another way to look at how you can use these specific trade plans that we've been using for so long to grow your own account. I've got another spreadsheet that's going to, I think, you're going to find very interesting. So let me just go with the most recent trade. Of course, today was the FOMC announcement, and there was some great movements in the market, a lot of different markets moving great once Yellen did her thing and made her announcement. And the trend jumper is able to put you, it puts you in front of the market moves that are going to make you money. But you obviously need to know how it works. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is this green dotted line. Okay, you can see it snaking all the way through the chart here. It's a very powerful momentum indicator. It's called the jump line, and it gives us a wealth of information. For one, it shows us the direction that the price is most likely to go. In other words, it lets us know when momentum, which direction momentum is, and also when momentum is turning. Okay. Another important thing that it does is it shows us where near-term support and resistance levels are that we can trade off of. Okay. And then finally, we're going to use it as a tool to trail half of our position. Okay. So that's the jump line, and the trend jumper is built upon this one indicator. Okay. Now, when you see a setup below a setup bar, like you do in this case, that means that the trade is a short trade and the momentum is down. Over here on the left, you can see that the setup is above the bar. Obviously, that means we're going long. It's a long trade. Okay, now this can be traded with one position or two positions. The standard approach for us is two positions. You could start with one, like Brian was showing you with that capital growth spreadsheet. You got to keep your risk small. As soon as you earn the right to add a second contract, that's what you do once you grow your account. The first position, we're going to take off at, usually it's the second target right here. Okay. If we have a second position, we're going to use that to trail the jump line. When we get to the first position, the stop is going to move from here all the way down to here, and it's going to lock in a tick to cover our costs. So one of the themes of the trend jumper is to try to put you in a risk-free position as quickly and aggressively as possible, while also giving the trade the time it needs to develop, because you don't want to get bounced out of a trade too soon. Of course, nothing is perfect, but this works really well. We've been using this trade plan on the Russell now for well over a year and a half. It was developed in the trade room, in the live trade room, and we're still using it. So you can see in this one example here how it finally triggers in, and when it goes down to that first target, notice that the stop moves down. Didn't lock in a tick because we're using some professional tools here, and it knew to adjust around what's called a key level. Okay, and we teach this in the university, but the calculator, which is printing these trades, it knew to make that adjustment for you. Okay, but notice that it did hit the full target, half your position comes off, and then you can see it begins to trail the jump line. And it trailed it down a little bit to here, and then it stopped out. Okay, notice the trade to the left. Well, here's where the value of the money management really helps, because it hit that first target, the stop moved up, and that was as far as it wanted to go. And so obviously putting ourselves in that risk-free position, we were protected and we were out of that trade. Of course, a short trade, you could see that was a little winner, and then I just wanted to show you the trade that happened. This happened during the announcement. One of the things you'll learn is that you do not trade when news is being released. A lot of times it looks like a great trade, but it's not a trade that can be executed because of spreads and because of no one filling your order. You might put the order in and actually it hits all the profit, but you don't get filled until way down here. So we avoid that, and yet that's another thing that we learn in the university. Okay, so this was a trade that happened after waiting the proper amount of time, and you could see how it behaved the exact same way. Money management, hit the target, and then of course the runner, the trailer. The other thing that the trend jumper has built into it is a favorable risk-reward ratio, and the great way to illustrate that is just to show you where the entry and the stop is. The amount we're risking, of course, is what's between these two lines, right? Where we enter and where our worst case scenario stop is. So when Brian says never risk more than 2 to 3%, he's talking about the amount that you're risking from entry to stop in relationship to how much capital you have. Okay? Notice that the target, look at how that's greater than the risk. In some cases it will be much greater than that. It's almost as much as 2 to 1. But that's an inherent virtue that the trend jumper has built into it, is a favorable risk-reward ratio. And notice how it improves dramatically once the trailer kicks in. Right? You're risking this much to make this much, and that happens more often than you'd think. Of course, by the time it gets there, you already have no risk, because part of trading is smart trade management and rules. Notice that on this chart you've got 100% structure. There's no guessing here. You know that you're supposed to plan your trade and trade your plan. Each and every trade, when you click on the bar, you see the numbers right in the data window. Everything's laid out before you. The entire trade plan. Not only that, but the rules of what to do once the trade is in progress, right, from start to finish. Okay, so that's critical, especially when you're trading to build a business and you're trading for income. You have to have this kind of structure. So I just taught you 85 to 90% of the trend jumper. I'll show you a few more examples here. I don't want to take up too much time because I know Mark's got some important stuff to share with you, but let's just look at a few more. This morning, the NQ, this is the NASDAQ E-mini, another really good market. You can see it works exactly the same way. This was the announcement. Waiting after the announcement, the market turned on a dime and went the other way. The trend jumper put us in front of that move, and you could see how it hit the target, it moved the stops up, and that was a nice winning trade as well. There's lots of futures here I could show you. In fact, Mark brought up this idea of looking at coffee futures the other day, and I basically copy and pasted the chart, put it on an 89 tick. It's not something I might recommend, but it was very interesting to see how the trend jumper was able to put us in front of all the best moves, even in coffee futures. You can see it working on the way up, working on the way down. And he also mentioned that there is some Forex markets that are good for day trading, and I personally believe there's one in particular that's worth paying attention to. And one of the reasons why I think that is because we trade this every day in the live trade room, and since we came out with this trade plan, it continues to hit new record profit levels. I'm going to show you today's trades, and this actually happened surprisingly early this morning. You could see that the market was basically in a standstill waiting for the Fed announcement. Something must have happened that caused it to go up, and of course we were able to pick up the trade with the trend jumper. We're allowed to add to our position with one additional trade, because one of the beautiful things about Forex is that you have more control over controlling your risk. You could put on any combination of micros and minis and whatever is appropriate to your account size, and so you can keep your risk small enough, and you want to take advantage of the explosive trending moves that could happen in Forex. And I show this a lot on the end of day charts for swing trading Forex, you can catch monster moves that make hundreds, if not thousands, of pips. We use a similar idea with the day trading. This is a 5-minute chart, and you could see here how it was able to hit the middle target and the third target. We'll use 3 positions on this trade plan, taking off a third at the middle target, a third at the third target, and then trailing the purple line, and then adding to one position, or adding on one setup, and you could basically do the same thing. The third off here, a third off here, and a third trailing. Today's trade earned 130 pips in total. Now, I could show you a lot more examples, and if we have time, I will, but I want to use the rest of my time to show you something that is, I think, going to be very interesting to you. I just showed you a trade method, right, the trend jumper, but part of being successful in trading are the other 2 elements that are, we call it the 3-legged stool of trading success, and that is the method, which I just showed you. Money management was the second leg, and of course the third leg, trade psychology. You have to be able to be the CEO of your trade business, right? So once you have a great business plan and you've learned how to build your belief and your confidence, then it's just up to you to execute that plan. Well, part of executing the plan is putting on money management. So I want to show you a couple things. These are spreadsheets that I use to log my trades, whether I'm testing, trading for real, forward testing. The first thing I'm going to show you is the Russell plan. This is the one I showed you a little while ago when I taught you the trend jumper, the Russell E-mini. Okay, and these are this year's trades going all the way back to January 2nd up until today. And if you're trading with just 1 contract each, right, a total of 2 contracts, and you start with a total of $10,000 in your account, and you risk 1.5% per position, so really 3%, right, because there's 2 positions, you would have grown your account from $10,000 to over $27,000 by the end of today, and that's taking out trade costs. So that's net of commission and slippage as well. That's no money management. That's just taking single contract times 2. And you would have, obviously, you see, you've already more than almost tripled your money. So what happens if you start using what we call a fixed fractional money management strategy, and then as your account grows, you stick to the risk ratio? You would have grown your account to $32,000. It's quite a bit more. Now, if you would have put on just 0.5% more risk and run the same report, now that's if you take every single trade that the trade plan says from the beginning of the year to the end of today, this is a much larger number. I mean, it's unbelievable what 0.5% can do. But there's no hurry, because if you just keep at it, just like Brian showed you with the capital growth spreadsheet, you hit that exponential curve. Eventually, you're going to get to that point where you cap out at 10 contracts, which is what I have here, and then your account keeps growing, but you don't increase your position size. So what happens to your risk? Your risk per trade keeps going down, down, down. I don't know if you noticed at the end of the 5-year example Brian showed you, but you were risking less than 0.3%. Could you put on a 10 or 20 contract trade if it represents 0.3% of your account? How do you think that's going to affect your trade psychology? Do you think you're going to have the confidence to take the next trade? With crude oil, similar example, starting with $20,000, it grew to $32,000 with a single position, but by putting on the risk that we're allowing, it grew to over $66,000 and up to 8 contracts per position. All right, starting with $20,000, this is less than a year, over 300, getting close to what, 360% growth per annual, per annum. All right, so here's the most dramatic example of all. I just showed you the euro yen, right? Well, let's say you only have $2,000 to start. You're just starting out. You're trying to build up your account, okay? This is looking at this year's trades, and it's risking 1%. It's a little bit more aggressive because you have to multiply that by 3 because we're using 3 positions. And if you take the add-ons, you might end up with trades that put as high as 6%. But you only have $2,000, right? And we're going to start with 1 micro lot per position, right? That's 10 cents a pip. By the end of today, your account would have grown from $2,000 to $2,291, right? That's That's well over 10% growth in your account with only 10 cents a pip. And we all know that careers are made on Wall Street if you can do 10% a year. All right, so this is 9.5 months. But what happens if you stick to your risk reward? Your risk ratio of 1% per position? Your $2,000 would have grown to over $16,000. 1.27 full-size lots per position. All right, $2,000 to $16,000 trading beginning with 10 cents a pip, one micro lot. You see the power of what we're talking about here? Someone in the chat said, I want to make 200 pips a day. Well, we all do. And if it were that easy, I'm sure we'd all be doing it. The only problem is we'd all be breaking rocks in Leavenworth. Okay, trading is not that easy, and if it was, it would be illegal. But there is a method, and there is a pathway. Let me just show you one more example. This is last year when I first introduced the euro-yen, and I ran out of line items on my spreadsheet. So this one is going to show you from January of 2013 to April of 2014, right? 1 year and a few more months, starting with the same 2,000, but we're going to risk less. We're risking 2/3 of 1% per position. So about, 2.5% per trade, and then 5% when you add on. And notice that it traded up to 2.55 full-size lots, and you would have turned $2,000 into $62,000. Now, I ran this test where I actually put the full 1%, like the example I showed you before. You know what that number grew to? Over $186,000, just by 1/3% more per position. Exact same trades, starting with $2,000. Now, I'm not suggesting that you are going to be able to trade every single trade in the trade plan. Let's face it, life happens. We're all human beings. We're going to make mistakes. Some days we can't trade or what have you. The point is that there is a pathway to be able to grow your business and earn an income. And everything I showed you is the exact same strategy on all the charts. It's what we're going to be covering in the PTU. And Mark, I think I used up my time, so I'll hand it back to you. If we want to look at more examples during the Q&A, I'll stick around.
Sure, no, that's great. And both Troy and Brian, I think the most liberating thing for everybody listening has to be that you no longer have to think about building to an income and a consistent income in terms of I need to make $500 a day, I need to make $1,000 a day, I need to make 200 pips per day. None of that is the case at all. And that's probably why most of you have not been able to get to the point of profitability, because you've got these objectives or these ideas that this is what you need in order to succeed, and that's definitely not the case. You absolutely have to have something that's going to provide consistent averages. You have to have something that's not going to put you in position of big drawdowns, right? I mean, this is key. So that's why the Trend Jumper core system is so important to what we do and how we show it. And the Trend Trader system that's inside the university that we barely scratched the surface on here today is very critical to that idea and that concept as well. What you need is some patience, and you need to let time sort of do its thing. You need to learn the system, master it, and then just wait a little bit. Don't be impatient. Like Brian said, don't start taking money out in the first month. Don't start adding on 3 other markets in the first month when you don't yet have permission to go to the second contract. Those of you that can be disciplined, especially early on, will very much succeed. So the way that we try to teach you all of these concepts and a whole bunch more is in the Premier Trader University. And we've structured it just like you would think of a college or a university. You've got your prerequisites, your undergraduate, your graduate, and even your master's level. And that's the best way to really think about how this program works. And then what we decided to really do is, like, what can we put into this to make sure that you just don't have the theoretical, the hypothetical, that you actually have the trading systems, the trade plans, the software, any automation that's needed, that you literally have everything you need once you go through the university to be able to trade for income. So that's the way that we work it. The first step, of course, is the prereqs. And the reason this is very important is when you enroll in the university, we first want you to go through the self-paced portion of it. And the self-paced portion is going to really cover everything we want you to know before the live training starts. And that's important because you want to make sure that if you're there, you don't want everybody on a different, level or a different page and then asking questions that, could have been answered some other time. But it's really important that we all have the core information down. And those things are everything from choosing the right platform, the correct brokers, the style of trading you're going to pursue, day trading, swing trading, Forex, futures, stocks, options, where you should place the trades, what type of trades that are placed and how you can do those. Very, very important. Technical analysis, everything we do is driven by the technicals, but we're not going to worry about 98% of what your trading platform has. I don't need to worry about stochastics and relative strengths and all these things that people have spent so much time with. We're going to focus in on the things that matter to us and the things that actually move the markets and make our systems and strategies work. And of course, risk management, which we've talked a lot about today, and trade psychology, very, very key elements. So all of this is done in the pre-rec. As soon as you enroll, you just start to go through that process. Then we start the live portion of the university. All right, and the way we do it first is we want to teach you what we call the undergraduate. This is just one day. All right, and by the way, you're not coming to us. It's all convenient and comfort of your home or office, so don't worry about that. And this is where we teach you the Trend Jumper core. Now, I know I've got Trend Jumper owners on here already, and I've got probably half the people who are not. So if you own the Trend Jumper, this day one will be a really great live in the market repeat and review. All right, if you attended our webinar yesterday for Trend Jumper only owners, you understand this. If you do not have the Trend Jumper, you absolutely have to learn the core trading system that's going to basically get you to be able to trade all the markets we've shown you today, plus a number of others depending upon what's best for your account size and location around the world and the hours that you can work. That includes all the software and the indicators, everything that you need to be able to trade these consistently. So rather than saying, hey, you should trade the Russell E-mini, good luck to you, it's not like that at all. Everything you need to start trading that effectively, trade by trade, you will have and be taught in day one. In addition, we hold live in the market trading 4 times a week in the US. We consider that our VIP level. 2 times a week in the European session. Anybody who enrolls in the university gets all of that for life. So you don't have to worry about being at our basic level. You don't have to worry about the monthlies that usually come with this. Because this is the high end, you get to attend as many of those live sessions as you want indefinitely. That can be a huge benefit, especially when you are learning the Trend Jumper system in the beginning and trying to master it. And the more you attend that, trust me, the better you will become as a trader, because all of it is happening live in the markets where nobody can kind of like pick a great chart from a week ago. Just like Troy showed you trades from today, we do not like to cherry pick. We have to deal with realities, and reality is whatever happens today happens. And that's how we build all, that's how we hold and monitor and put on all of the live training rooms. All right, we do it, like I mentioned, in a fully interactive webinar, kind of like this, but the difference is all of the coaches are there and all the students will interact back and forth, and it really makes it a very powerful way to learn and master the Trend Jumper. And absolutely, yes, it can be done in a day, no problem. This is not a highly complicated trading system because the software that comes with is so effective and so powerful. Now, day 2, this becomes brand new for everybody who's listening, because if you're a Trend Jumper owner, none of you have anything that starts in day 2 and day 3. Of course, if you're not a Trend Jumper owner, then again, this is all brand new. But we want to make sure that once you get the basics down, we can then start to take you to a deeper dive, because it's important. Brian showed you as your account started to grow, you guys probably saw, your account, you're not going to leave $800,000 or $900,000 in your account after 5 years just sitting there when you've capped yourself out at 10 contracts. You have to start to have the ability to trade additional markets. You have to have the ability to start to improve your results. The bigger your account gets, trust me, the more conservative all of you will get with your money and the more protective you're going to want to be. So that's all what we start to cover in the Trend Jumper Advanced Training. Most important is everybody gets our top of the line Pro Plus software. All right, a basic Trend Jumper owner has our basic standard software. All of that changes with the university. Everybody receives or gets upgraded to the Pro Plus. Now, we could have a whole webinar, which we did yesterday, on just the software, the Pro Plus and the Trade Assist that I'll talk about in a moment, because it is so powerful what it does. And I realize for a lot of you, some of these benefits and features you see on the screen, they don't make a lot of sense. But trust me, what's happening here, and these features make your life really easy, okay? Because one thing that you don't want is to be trading a system that, however effective it is on paper and on the chart, you cannot trade it in real time because it takes too long to figure out the entries, the targets, the stops, the trailing. The great thing about the software is it tracks virtually anything that you can think of and every single rule we have in every single trade plan that we have. So I understand you may not understand what key level adjustments are, but believe me, when that can be automated, it's a hell of a great thing. When the risk management can be automated and the stop management and the trailing stops, really very important to you. All of that's included, plus not just the software, all of the training that goes with it. Another thing we offer, and again, we just don't have time. Our first webinar a couple of weeks ago, we strictly just covered the automation and the trade assist and the trade plan development. So you can always go back and see those webinars. We usually email you the replay, so look for that. You can literally semi-automate some of your trading, but more importantly, you can build trade plans, you can test anything you can think of, start times, end times, day of the weeks, type of the charts, targets, and literally within a few seconds or a minute or two, you get an answer that would have taken you manually probably 8 to 20 hours. Believe me, I'm somebody who's tested thousands and thousands and thousands of trades and systems and everything else. When it's done manual versus when it's done with automation, you can't even compare the two. You know, 8 hours turns into 5 minutes. And what's really important about that is 90% plus of your ideas, and trust me, mine too, will fail. Well, if it's going to take 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours every time to get to the point of finally figuring out at the end something has failed, it gets to be really challenging to find a plan in a market that's going to work. That is the power and the beauty of automation. That's all taught on day 2, provided on day 2, and all the training on how to use that. Day 3, we kind of take it up another notch. We call it our master's level. This is really where we get very advanced. It's only in the university. This is fully recorded because not everybody's going to be ready to really absorb everything necessarily on day 3. But trust me, as you get to be a better and better trader and you have more and more experience, you're going to want to know how to use the best possible settings, all the fine little details that we offer in the software, and even ways that you can filter things out, how you can dynamically target, dynamically have stops, how you can adjust for market conditions. All these things are very, very important, and we do all this in our day 3. So as you can see, we have everything covered in the university, and we get to it, and we get to it quickly because, look, if you're like me, right, I've kind of built the company kind of in my, my idea, my concept of what I would want. I would not want to wait for months, or a year or whatever to get through all this. I just would never have the patience. So we move you through this very quickly, but I'm here to tell you that we would never just give you software and say good luck to you, because training provides a significant boost in the bottom line. All right, and you can see a range here from very little difference to a huge difference in this subset of markets over. I took a look at like about a month or 2 of trades in a variety of markets. The bottom line improvement there that you see on a percentage basis came with no additional work, but it did come with a lot more knowledge. It came from the knowledge that we teach you in the university, that you put into practice and you put to use. That is the great reward for putting in the time and making the effort. Those are the types of bumps that you can make to your overall profits beyond what somebody else who maybe is approaching things strictly mechanically is not going to be able to benefit from. All right. Another thing that we do, and we know a lot of people come into the university or come into trading with the work ethic, the intelligence, the desire, but they just don't have the starting capital to really get started. Troy showed you, which was great, being able to start with $2,000 on the euro yen and slowly building that up in the beginning and then getting to the point where you can start to compound. And yeah, you probably won't get, like you said, to that size and not going to be comfortable with it. So, we're not saying you're going to turn $2,000 to, $200,000, in the course of a year. But what if you could actually be staked and start with some of the bigger markets and some of the markets that are very consistent that maybe you can't do now? So we also, during the university, teach you how this can be done. And it only can be done. Nobody's going to stake you with funds unless you can prove that you have the right win-loss ratios, that you have the nice consistency that somebody wants, that your drawdowns are controlled, and that you can be systematic. Well, you can do all of that with the Trend Jumper, and that's why we can actually teach you how this can be done, and we can give you a real good kickstart on getting going on this if this is something that you need to really make it in trading. All right, so that's also will be taught during the university. I won't cover all the testimonials we have. We have amazing case studies from people. If you came early, you probably saw a whole bunch of testimonials kind of scrolling by. We have hundreds on file. It's just good to know that you guys aren't setting new ground. We've been doing the university teaching like this since 2012. We've been teaching courses since 1996. We've been doing this a long time. We have a lot of people who've done very well. The people that do well are the people that get started, the people that put in some of the effort, the people that start to trade and really make this a business. And if you can do that, you absolutely can turn trading into an income. Those are the key things. If you want to trade it as get rich quick and the lottery and a game, well, then you're going to have a very different outcome. So you I think, know who we're speaking to in this webinar. So right away when you enroll, you'll have access to the prereq. So get started on that. You have plenty of time before we start the live classes, which are October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. All done via the internet, all live, all recorded. So if you miss parts of the day or there's something you just want to review, which you will, it's all archived for you, and that includes all the brand new sessions. It's not like we're taking something that we did a year ago and saying, here you go. We will teach the trend jumper from the ground up. Those of you who probably bought the trend jumper already, some of you haven't gotten started. It's sometimes I realize because it's all on video and it's all recorded and it's just not how you like to learn. You can't motivate that way. Well, this is your opportunity. Show up on day one and learn live from the person who developed it, right? Troy, I mean, the person who knows it more than anybody else in the world, you get that opportunity. And then, of course, moving on to the great software and then the master's level on day 3. So that's how we do this. Recap of what you're getting. Don't panic about the pricing. It's just in our minds what the value is. You obviously will pay significantly lower than that investment, but the value is there. I honestly feel that we could charge what I show here, and it's worth it. Problem with that is I realize most of you probably would not be able to take part. But the home study, the undergraduate, all the trade plans, the software, the lifetime owners club, the VIP level, 3 days of live training archived and live streamed, the great advanced software, the trade assist software that we give you, all the training on that, the roadmap training to trading with other people's money. That's what OPM is. Everything, it's an amazing value. It is worth this. Trust me, it is worth it because we have a lot of people who've made many multiples of this who've gone through the program. However, your pricing will not be there. Number 2, I want you to understand that when you start with NetPicks and the Premier Trader University, we have the level of confidence that we can offer a satisfaction guarantee. I don't know if I've seen this in any of the higher end academies and universities. I've never seen any of them offer any type of money back. Well, I mean, you might want to ask yourself why that is. We absolutely do, but I will ask you something. I will not, refund you if you do nothing. You do have to review the prereqs, easy enough, right? Attend the live training. I'm not saying if you can't make it, the guarantee doesn't apply. Just watch the recordings, install the indicators, and just go through the motions. If you do that, you will never want to let it go. That's the way that this works. It always happens this way. So this is my way of motivating you, but at the same time, realize we've been around since '96. We stand behind this. If you do all this and it's not for you and it's not going to work for you, then you've got the 45-day risk for you. So no rush on that either. So how much does it cost? All right, now I know this is a lot going on here. Let me just explain this to you. It's actually very easy. If you're brand new to NetPicks, it's $39.97. You own it for life. You can go with a 4 payment of $9.99. So you can start at $9.99, split it up over 4 payments. If you own the Trend Jumper, I'm going to basically rebate you back the cost for the most part on that. So you're going to be $29.97. So you get a $1,000 discount. If you want, you can go ahead and 4 pay that at $749. Start at just $749. You're in. You're enrolled. You get everything, all the training, all the software. Anybody who has bought anything from NetPicks in the past, Keltner Bells, Ultimate Swing Trading, 7 Summits Trader, you can take an additional $500 off. You have to put into the order form the code 500 for 500 off. That will drop the $39.97 down to $34.97. All right. If you own Trend Jumper, I'm letting you double dip, basically. I'll give you the Trend Jumper discount, and I'm going to give you the family discount. So you'll be able to drop it down to $24.97. So the 4 payment plans, I should say, are $749 and $999, or you can go ahead and do full-time, one time, for $34.97 or $24.97. And that is it. Every single thing that we've covered here tonight, and things that we've covered in multiple different webinars now are all included. It is our top of the line that we offer. There is nothing higher here at NetPicks and the Premier Trader University. I will tell you the seats are filling up quicker than they have the last time we did this in April. We have 26 seats, last time I checked this morning, that have been reserved. So we're down to 14. Each time we have sold out. That is not, any kind of threat or anything like that. If you're ready, go for it. If you're not, it's cool. But just realize we don't want to have 200 people in this class. We want to be able to interact with people, have people ask as many questions that they need to ask, and be able to get you answers. Okay, so it's very important that we don't oversell and over-enroll inside the university. So the link you need to go ahead and get started is on the screen. It's netpicks.com/enroll, and Brian should be putting into the chat here. Right now, I think he just put it in there. If you want to click the link and not have to type it in, look at your question and answers chat area, and you should see the link there. You should be able to click on and go to that, all right? So I want to tell you a few more things, and then we'll do some final questions. Some of you know that we've been doing this TradeStation scholarship program for quite some time. I just want to let you know if you use TradeStation as your platform and you trade there, you actually can get your entire tuition with the Premier Trader University reimbursed through their commission rebate program. That's exclusive to us and to this university program. So realize that's something that you can do if that's a route that you want to go. That's pretty neat because you trade and you get the cost reimbursed over time. NinjaTrader is also an amazing platform, and now that they're a broker, it's even better because you've got really great wholesale-based commissions. When I look at what we probably paid just a few years ago to now, it more than pays for the enrollment in the university, just the savings that come through from the technology and the brokers that are out there now. So the link again is netpicks.com/enroll. And I kind of like to always show this because all of you are trying to get to the point where you can trade for income. Most of you have gone through this process, which I'll call the hard way. I think probably all of you have bought indicators, you've bought systems. Most of them probably came with no support, no live interactivity, nothing like this. You probably spent a lot of time either trading in real time, which was horrible, or you back tested and you spent lots and lots and lots of hours to get confident. And then you went ahead and you started to trade it and it made a little bit and you thought, hey, this is going to work. And then all of a sudden it starts to lose a lot. You lose your confidence. You're not sure. There's nobody to ask. You don't know if anybody else is doing the same thing you are. And you get rattled and shaken. And then you lose a whole bunch because you're trying to do revenge trading. And then you wait for your account to be refunded again. You probably do the cycle 2 or 3 times. You eventually quit frustrated. No trading account, no trading for income. You just never really fulfill that goal or that dream that you have. The easier way, I think the better way, the Premier Trader University way, is learn the one core proven system. All right, attend the live training, learn the rules, stick to the rules, stick to the trade plan, be disciplined, start super small like I showed you, like Brian showed you. I don't even care if you have a lot of capital. Start with one contract, small account, and build up from there. You do not need to make $500 to $1,000 a day on day one. You can build there eventually over time, sure. All right, but trading is made up of a series of winners, of losers, of partial winners, of partial losers. You have to be realistic about it. You cannot turn this into a gamble. This can't be like Las Vegas. This can't be turned into get rich quick. Unfortunately, a lot of things that you get promoted make claims that are just unsubstantiated. So this gives you an opportunity to really create a real sustainable trading business. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'll say open it up to questions, but I have a feeling that Brian and Will and TJ have probably been answering most of the questions as we've gone along. I do want to bring Brian on the mic, and then I'll bring Troy on in case, Brian, there's anything that you wanted to answer live here instead of typing in.
Sure. Mark, we've kept up pretty good with the questions. And let me get this other recorder off. And so I think we're pretty good at this point. Can't think of anything outstanding that I would want to cover. So I just would encourage you to get any final questions in. If you want to speak with me direct after, I'm going to put that offer out there too. If there's anybody that just has any questions, you want to talk one-on-one, I'll be more than happy to do that. I'm going to put my direct number in chat. And so feel free. I'll be hanging out here for 30 to 40 minutes after the call or after the webinar to chat with anybody that wants to. So I'll put that in chat right now.
Awesome. And Troy, I'm sure as I kind of went through some of that, all that information in the end there's probably some things that you may want to chime in on.
Yeah, I was answering questions too, so
Cool.
If I repeat myself, forgive me. But the enrollment in the P2 does come with a full VIP membership, which is the 4 days a week in the trade room and lifetime owners club. That in itself is worth its weight in gold, because you're going to be able to join us live and trade these trade plans with us, and we're always there to answer your questions. We want to make sure everyone learns a strategy, and there's no better way than to do it in the markets live, get the repetition that you need. Of course, you know, you practice in a sim account at first. But the other thing I want to mention is that a very important training document is made available upon enrollment as well. It's called the Steps to Success Guide. And all you have to do is follow it. Because if you follow it, you will learn exactly how to do everything we've been talking about today. From mastering your strategy to mastering yourself, to mastering the money management, building that strong trader's foundation, ultimately earning the right to put on that first live trade. If you just follow the steps and everything that's offered in the curriculum, you're going to basically have the best chance of success, better than 99% of all the traders out there. So we never mention the success guide, but it's there. It's there for you. It's very important, and we follow it like a religion.
Great, thanks, Troy. So a few more questions have come in here. Let's see. How are Premier Trader confirmation emails sent? Just need to search my inbox for RY. Yes, right. If you enroll, you will get confirmation, but you will also get you'll have immediate access set up in the Owners Club, and that's where you're going to get the prerequisite, so you can start that. We'll be in contact with you as well as we start to get close to the live training sessions with your access information, your passwords, your instructions on when to join us, the schedule, and all that sort of thing as well. And then, of course, how to get your software. You know, we weren't able to cover in great detail all of the software and how powerful the trade plans are. Troy showed you some of it, of course, during his demo. But that is everything also that's included. I really like to stress that we haven't left anything out. Actually, sometimes I even show this on the screen. I'll put it up here. You know, there's other, of course, you know, universities, academies out there, and I've gone and looked at, you know, what they charge and what's included. And sometimes it's like literally there's no training system that comes with it. It's all about sort of theoretical, hypothetical training and you know, talking how to use technical analysis, but it never gets specific. I don't know how somebody could be successful with that. And of course, a lot of it is layer upon layer, level upon level. What you add futures, it's more. Forex, it's more. Advanced, it's more. Day trading, it's more. And the prices just get higher and higher and higher. I think one thing that's really great about how we do this is absolutely an investment. I mean, I realize it's not $97. I mean, there's no question. You know, this is serious stuff. However, you can reserve most of what you have for your trading account. So it's not like you have to sit here and invest that $10,000, $20,000, etc., and have nothing left over, you know, for your trading account. That's also very important. Let me see. Was the Trend Jumper Next Level webinar from yesterday recorded? Jason, yes, it was. So if you were a Trend Jumper owner, you either attended that webinar last night, yesterday during the day. If you weren't able to attend or maybe forgot to enroll, we will be sending out, I believe tomorrow is when we're going to be doing it, a replay of that. And that does a really deep dive into the Pro Plus software, into the Trade Assist. We go right into that, so you may very well want to do that. And just make sure when you enroll, you will get that. And just be sure that you come in at the $24.97, use the $500 off, or you can still do the 4-pay if you prefer to do that. Existing student, yeah, you can take the course again. You can attend the sessions again. So the person that asked that, the only thing that may be different is if you've already gone through your 90 days on the Trade Assist and you want to start with that again, you would have to kind of re-up on that. You'd have to subscribe to that again or get the license for that again. But otherwise, anything else, you know, there's no reason you need to enroll a second time. When will the next Trend Jumper offer be? So if you're talking about Trend Jumper standalone, probably looking at about November-ish at this point. And the next university, we don't have it scheduled yet, but next year, January, February. The last time we did this was 5 months ago. So if you figure 5 months from now, if we stay on a similar schedule, we'll put us into February. It's probably going to be somewhere in that area. Definitely we will not have another university class at all between this class, October 1st, and the end of the year. That's definitely not going to happen. So good time to enroll. Otherwise, you do have to wait quite some time. Where will the training class be given? Well, it's all virtual online. So just like this webinar, we do it with Omnovia. It's fully interactive, so you get to see online the coaches and the team, as well as everybody else logs in. Everybody sees everybody else's commentary, questions, answers, etc. So we can do that and save you all the effort of having to travel around. In years past, we've had sometimes held live trainings along with virtual, but we kind of found that 95% of this people much prefer to home or office it, and a small number actually come out and travel. So we thought this time we'd just save everybody having to even think about that. Let me see. The Trade Assist would be for the 90 days, Ron, and then after that, if you wanted to go ahead and use that sort of full time, we will make available to you an upgrade. You can either go monthly or you can do a lifetime, so you don't have to worry about the monthly. Let me see what else. I know Brian's answering, Troy, some of the questions here. Are there any plans to have a version of the software for the Infinity Futures platform? No. You can trade at Infinity Futures. Let's stress that. You can trade at any broker in the world. I trade at Interactive Brokers. I do not, believe me, I do not trade or chart, I should say, on their platform. Not something you'd want to do. So if you want to trade at Infinity, that's absolutely wonderful. You're going to want to chart on either NinjaTrader or TradeStation. That drives your signals. After that, you can place your trades at any broker literally in the world that you're comfortable with, whether it's futures, forex, stock, options. Brian mentioned he's got contact information in the chat. There's more contact information on the screen. Again, we're real people. We don't mind talking to you. We don't mind interacting with you. We've gotten to know a lot of our Trend Jumper students over time, so that's another real benefit. This is a definite community. If you've been watching us for a while, you know that we always have had, right, the same coaches have been with us for years. So there's just a tremendous amount of stability here, and I hope that gives you a lot of confidence if you start with us. Lorna says, okay, will it be in time for me to make the university class if I purchase? Oh, okay, so TJ was talking about S&P 500, which is fine. Lorna, what's the videos for link will be sent out, email. Okay. Let me see what else here. So Troy's answering that for you. All right, I think we are at the end of the questions, so we'll do the final call out. So if you're typing, get that thing in, get that question in, because it's a good opportunity to get an answer from myself or Troy or Brian. Troy, any closing comments as we await any of the final questions?
Well, I want to welcome our newest members, of course, and looking forward to meeting you in the trade room. And then also we are having another webinar this week as well, right, Mark? I think Saturday morning?
That's correct, Saturday morning, and that's a new topic for us, and it's mastering disciplined trading. So definitely show up for that. We'll do it very much the same way. So we'll have a real core part of it, like today, will be fully educational. This is one of the things that was at the top of the list, and the last time we did a Trend Jumper webinar was the #1 thing that people said that they really need is, you know, how do I stay disciplined? I veer off of my system, my plan. I don't have confidence. I lose, you know, my psychology is a mess, and it becomes a disaster. And so we're really going to focus in on how we did it, because most of us, I can tell you myself, I mean, I failed badly for a while in trading. So we'll sort of take you through our stories a little bit, how we became disciplined, how we stay balanced. So that'll be on Saturday. So you can go to premiertraderuniversity.com/webinars. And we always hope in these webinars that, yeah, we're looking to enroll people into the university, and we think that's a great thing for you, but we also want to make sure that, you know, you learn something from this. Even if you don't enroll, I'm hoping today that you learn something about expectations and something you can take away from this that may literally change, you know, how you approach your trading going forward. And if we accomplish that for a few people, then it's certainly well worth the time. All right, I think it is time to wrap it up. I know it's getting late for a lot of you, especially those of you in Europe and elsewhere. So I really do appreciate everybody attending today. Great group overall. Congrats to those of you who have enrolled. If you still have some questions, you know, give us a call, send us an email, get on chat, whatever the case may be. We'll be happy to answer those questions. So take care, everybody. Thanks a lot to Brian, to Will, to Troy, to Ron. Really appreciate it. Take care, everybody.